President Trump set to lay out his vision for America in just 4 hours from now during his second State of the Union address. The president will focus on immigration, trade, national security, health care, infrastructure, and much, much more. He'll also use the primetime speech to call for unity. Councilor Kellyanne Conway saying it's time for Democrats to end the resistance politics.
Anybody who's sitting there with their arms folded, harumphing, looking like they sucked on 12 lemons, that's on them, not him. Because he's calling for unity, he's calling for working together. They're going to need to decide if they're serious about that as well. He is wanting the legislature to do its job. It's failed to do it for a matter of years, if not decades.
The call to come together is not stopping Democrats from firing shots before the president even hits the podium, like party leader Democrat Chuck Schumer.
The president will say predictably that the state of our union is strong. But the truth is, the state of the Trump economy is failing America's middle class. The state of the Trump health care system is failing American families. And the state of the Trump administration is embroiled in chaos and incompetence. The gap between the president's rhetoric in the State of the Union and reality is cavernous. The blatant hypocrisy of this president calling for unity is that he is one of the chief reasons Americans feel so divided now.
Trump hitting back on Twitter saying, "I see Schumer's already criticizing my State of the Union speech, even though he hasn't seen it yet." And if Schumer isn't enough, Maxine Waters is taking it one step further by telling Americans to not even tune in tonight.
The State of the Union under him has not been good, and he has been divisive, and I think he's putting us all in harm's way, and so he's not worthy of being listened to. I don't know why anybody want to pay attention to anything that he has to say. I'm not looking forward to his State of the Union, and I hope that people will turn the television off.
Wow, tell us how you really feel, Maxine. All right, so you guys are in D.C., we're here in New York. I get to sit next to Greg, so I am thrilled.
What's wrong with me?
Not as much as Greg is thrilled, though. Nothing is wrong. You know, Greg, harumphing.
I love
this
that.
Is the new Kellyanne Conway verb for what the Democrats are going to be doing. Do you think you're going to see a lot of harumphing tonight?
I used to do a lot of harumphing, and then I got some medication for it. The message of unity cannot succeed because the media, their business model runs counter to that. There's no incentive for Democrats to actually listen to Donald Trump or compromise when you know that the media will call you a coward for it. So that as long as the media has influence the way it does over politics, we will never see compromise. It is not even about the Democrats or Republicans anymore. It's the media and their business model of polarization that is going to keep it separate. What I'm interested in about the SOTU, as we call it in the business, is the victim chess. The victim chess.
Yes.
Each side brings a different victim,
right,
and another one brings another victim to match them. And it's like, so you have a sexual harassment accuser,
right,
and then you have a child who was bullied because his last name is Trump. If I were there, you know who I would bring?
Winners.
In Trump everybody? I would bring somebody who had Dana's queso. Because that's the victim. That's the victim.
Those are real victims out there, Dana.
I'm never going to let you forget it, Dana. What you did to America.
Dana, in all seriousness, I was speaking with your friend Chris Stirewalt today, and
Chris,
we were looking at some really interesting numbers. How did the State of the Union affects the presidential approval ratings? And the only president that really got significant bumps from their State of the Union addresses, Bill Clinton. Plus 10, plus 6, plus 4. No one else is even close. What do you think it is about Bill Clinton that he was so successful at these speeches? Is there anything Donald Trump can do to get a bump tonight?
Well, I think, one, I don't think the country was as polarized back then. I also think social media has a lot to do with it. And Juan could maybe fill us in. I don't know exactly what Bill Clinton was doing, but as I recall, Jesse, I think one of the reasons you might have seen that big bump is because, remember, he loses big time in 1994, and the Republicans take over, and all of a sudden, what does he do? He triangulates, and he starts reaching across the aisle. Now he's working with Newt Gingrich, and we've got a balanced budget amendment going on. We've got welfare reform. So all of a sudden, you see things that most of the country is like, we want both of those things. So he moved to the center, and I think that might be one of the reasons why. Jesse. Yes,
the era of big government is over. That was that famous line from, I think it was 1996. Right. Juan, you're down in D.C. with all your friends in the swamp. What are you hearing? What are you feeling tonight about the speech?
Well, I mean, it's a matter of who's watching, right? So whose eyeballs are tuned in. Maxine Waters is encouraging Democrats not to watch, but Democrats say they want to hear a lot of talk about health care, for example. They want to hear talk about better spending in terms of government services and products. But Republicans want to hear Donald Trump talk about the wall, immigration, terror. So it's like two sets of agendas from the people who are sitting in front of the TV, not the people who are being televised. I would say in response to what Dana just said, that what Clinton was talking about was a growing economy. And of course, part of it was the triangulation she described, but it was the strength of the economy during the 90s, which, as you recall, was booming. I think tonight President Trump is going to go after an economic message and say, this is the good news of the Trump presidency. Look at the growth, look at the low unemployment, and say this is the basis for us to come together. That will fold into the unity message. The difficulty, of course, is that the Democrats will say, hey, guess what? The economy was growing under Obama. It's growing under you. This is nothing new, nothing so different. The president, of course, will point to, I think he'll have a guest there, who kept their job because of his tax cut package. And again, the Democrats will hoot and holler and harump. And it would be just a matter of who's listening, who's on this side of that side of the TV, and what their previous or sort of prior position was, because they're just affirming pre-existing attitudes in a very polarized electorate.
Right. And Sandra, what I think is going to happen is the president is going to hit the economic success message very hard, because there's a lot of good things to talk about in the economy, and he's been very disruptive on a lot of fronts, but you have to look at the results. Now, when the media filters the State of the Union afterwards and the next day to the American people, I bet all they do is they talk about immigration, they talk about the wall, and they talk about a few viral moments that catches everybody's attention, and those results are not established in the American people's eyes as much as they could be.
Well, he certainly should take the opportunity to tout the success on the economy. Remember, this is happening a week later because of Nancy Pelosi delaying it because of the government shutdown. And we are coming off of that jobs report last Friday that showed over 300,000 jobs were added in the latest month. That being said, the reason why they'll be talking about immigration and the possible shutdown is because this is happening in the backdrop of yet another deadline that's quickly approaching. Next Friday is February 15th, and that is the deadline to fund the government. So the president has to make his case tonight. He can make news on that front, whether he's going to declare a national emergency. He can also make news on the foreign policy front. When is this summit going to happen with Kim Jong-un? Those are a couple big pieces. But Jesse, Greg, I think many of us and many Americans will be tuning in tonight regardless, but they will be watching the optics of the evening.
Right.
Who stands,
the
who
harumphing.
Who claps,
who's going to be harumphing?
The harumphing, possibly.
No, you know what?
And who shows and who doesn't.
You know what? The best part is going to be Nancy's face behind. It'll look like she just, chugged a bottle of Dulcolax. She's going to be just so unhappy. She's going to be very hard. But the thing is, people are always going to focus on his manner and not his performance. And it isn't just about the economy. It is about foreign policy. Also, Supreme Court. North Korea is a big deal. I can't understand why the left isn't embracing this guy. He keeps shrinking the military footprint wherever he goes. And then you have deregulation. You have all of these things. But you can't focus on this because it's good news, and good news is no longer a business model.
All right. Greg will be live drunk tweeting the entire State of the Union, so
I will.
make sure you're online for that.
I will.
Welcome back. Elizabeth Warren hits the ground running after becoming the first top-tier Democrat to announce a 2020 bid and the first stop on her campaign swing, the critical state of Iowa. But are Democrats looking for another establishment politician to lead the ticket? Brandon Straka is a former Democrat, who founded the Walkaway campaign, and he joins us now with his thoughts. We always love having you with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So let's begin with what President Obama had to say on all this. He says, we need some new blood. Listen.
One of the challenges we have in this world is people clinging on to power instead of seeing the power in other people. We have a deficit of leadership, and we need new blood.
All right, need some new blood. What do you think?
I'm actually more afraid of the new blood than I am of the old blood in the Democratic Party. So this actually, Elizabeth Warren scares me actually a little bit less than some of these newcomers that we see coming into Congress right now. I do think it's a little bit, tiresome that they have no new energy, no new plans, it is sort of more of the same again and again.
We have Joe Biden saying, we'd see him right there, he's saying he's the best bet to beat President Trump.
But I think some of these old-timers, if you will, like Elizabeth Warren, are going to be doing more of the same of what they normally do, which is just sort of pandering. And this is something that really concerns me and something I'm going to be talking about a lot in the coming years with the walkaway campaign. We know that the Democratic Party loves to target minorities in America. That's one of their key tactics. But I think what we're going to see is people like Elizabeth Warren and these other candidates telling these minority groups like African Americans, LGBT people, look, you have to be a socialist. You have to embrace communism, these different things that they're embracing right now. And I think it's really, really dangerous. This is something Elizabeth Warren does. I think she sort of grabs onto the issue du jour. And right now, it's
in the past, she's been considered the extreme of the Democratic Party, but now you have people like Alexandria Cortez there, and she obviously is more extreme.
That's my point, is that I think Elizabeth Warren is actually sort of moderate by comparison to some of the new blood. That's why I actually find her a little bit less threatening than what the Democratic Party is actually bringing into the party.
Yeah, let's bring up that graphic of all of the people so far, and they're just adding to it. If we can bring that up as we continue to talk, the House Democrats, they're moving to abolish this outdated electoral college as well. Look at all those folks, including The Rock there on the bottom. But let's talk about this, the electoral college, this proposed constitutional amendment. If Hillary Clinton had won in 2016, would they be so eager to dismantle this? Because we can look at the electoral votes in 2016. We had President Trump with 304, Hillary Clinton with 227, and you need 270 of the 538 electoral votes to win.
Right. I think, they're definitely still smarting from that, and they're going to be for a long, long time. Look, the Electoral College is doing its job, and it needs to do its job. We need to continue to have it do its job. It's the purpose of the Electoral College is to protect from the tyranny of the majority. And they'll say, oh, but we don't need it anymore. But it's the fact that they want to abolish the Electoral College proves that we need it. It's designed to help give a voice to the smaller states, the flyover states, if you will, so that if we look at the 2016 election, Hillary won the popular vote by somewhere around 2.87 million votes, I believe. So that's actually a smaller discrepancy than the votes just in New York City and Los Angeles. So do we want the entire country, the vote for president, to be decided by two major cities in the United States?
Right, which is the purpose of the Electoral College.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to protect the needs of everybody in this country, not just the needs of people in major metropolitan areas, and that's what it does. It gives a voice to this.
Campaign in all the states.
Exactly.
All the states. Talk to
always
all
a good strategy.
Always
a good strategy.
Right. Brandon, thank you so much. Great to have you with us as always.
Great to see you again.
Love your energy in the morning.
Thank you.